I threw my passport into the bottom drawer and didn't look back. That was the first mistake. The second, believing a man who loved two women could ever choose just one. The third was the silent promise he made me break. A secret that would cost us everything. I thought I was making a sacrifice for love. A romantic, Hollywood kind of sacrifice. I had the acceptance letter, the visa, the scholarship to study abroad. My ticket to a whole new life was on the table, crisp and white. He was standing right there, under the dusty dorm light. His eyes were wide and pleading, the way they always were when he needed something from me. I can't do long distance. Babe, not for 3 years, he whispered, pulling me closer. His heartbeat against my cheek felt like a clock, counting down to 0. I remember the silence in that room, the kind of heavy, cold silence you only get at 3 a.m. I chose him. I shredded the scholarship letter the next morning, convinced that building a life with us was the real dream. We were inseparable after that. Everyone said we were the end game. The perfect couple. The ones who had survived the first big test. That's the thing about perfection. It's usually built on a lie. And I was about to find out mine had been constructed on quicksand for 3 long years. Hey? Got a job. I got promoted. We bought a fixer-upper condo and spent every weekend painting walls and arguing about floor tile. It was exhausting. It was messy. It was real. One Friday, he came home late, smelling faintly of a perfume I didn't own. A little too sweet, a little too expensive. Work dinner ran late, he mumbled, avoiding my eyes. I didn't fight. I didn't accuse. I just felt that sharp, cold stab of Jelicita first crack in my perfect picture. A month later, he started keeping his phone locked, screen down. Standard stuff, right? Everyone needs privacy, but my inner voice was a frantic drummer, beating out a warning I couldn't ignore. Something is wrong. Look closer. I started looking, not at his phone, but at the little things. The small receipt for a florist across town. He never bought me flowers. The strange, almost shy way he answered questions about his coworker, Sarah. The night I noticed he was wearing a gold chain I didn't recognize. It wasn't his style. It felt like a clue he'd carelessly dropped. I waited until he was asleep. The whole apartment was silent, except for the distant sound of a siren passing by. I needed to see that chain up close. A wave of regret and betrayal washed over me, but I pushed it down. I had to know. I leaned over, slow and quiet, like a shadow. My hands were shaking. I gently pulled the chain out from under the collar of his t-shirt. It wasn't just a chain. There was a tiny, intricate locket. My own breathing sounded deafening in the dark. I fumbled with the clasp. My fingers clumsy with dread, it popped open. Inside, there was a picture. It wasn't mine. It was a picture of him and Sarah. And underneath that picture, tucked into the locket lining, was a folded-up piece of paper. I carefully unfolded the tiny square. My eyes scanned the handwriting. It wasn't his. It was a woman's elegant script. It was a wedding announcement. Their wedding announcement. My heart didn't just break. It shattered into frozen pieces. The date on the announcement was 3 years ago. The exact month I had ripped up my scholarship. I stood there in the dark, the cold night air suddenly pressing in from the window. I realized I hadn't sacrificed my dream for him. I had sacrificed it so he could keep his secret. He wasn't a man in love with 2 women. He was a man who had 2 complete lives. And I was the secret one. The backup plan. The safety net. I gently placed the locket back where I found it. I didn't wake him. I didn't scream. That was the old me. The new me. She breaks quietly and rebuilds silently. He woke up the next morning, oblivious. He kissed me goodbye, told me he loved me, and went to his work dinner. I spent the whole day on the phone, not crying, but focused. I called the university abroad. I called the scholarship committee. I called my old boss. Turns out, my old life was just waiting for me to step back into it. The scholarship had been deferred. The visa could be fast-tracked. I started packing, not his things, just mine. Minimal, efficient, clean. I left one thing on the kitchen counter. The crumpled, 3-year-old airline ticket stub I had kept for some stupid, sentimental reason. A reminder of the dream I had killed. When he walked in that night, he found the empty closets. He found the ticket stub. And he found a note I had written. It was short. My plane leaves at 6 a.m. You don't have to choose now, because I already did. I guess the dream was always real. You were the lie. I was already at the airport when his first frantic call came in. Then the second and the third. I looked at the screen, and for the first time in 3 years, I felt completely free. I put the phone on silent and watched the sun rise over the tarmac. I didn't hurt him. I didn't expose his double life to Sarah. I didn't cause chaos. I simply walked away, taking back the future he thought he had stolen. He called me for a year, he texted. He even flew overseas once, trying to get me back. He never understood. The greatest power isn't in forcing someone to choose you. It's in choosing yourself and making the loss so final. They realized the cost of their betrayal was everything. He never lost his wife. He lost the only woman who ever gave up her entire life for him. And that's a sacrifice you only get to take once. If you want more stories like this, hit subscribe.